don't doubt that you know a lot about popular songs. Let's say you know all there is to know about popular songs.
For years, fans adored Audrey Meadows as the witty and unshakable Alice Cramden. Her chemistry with Jackie Gleason lit up millions of screens, and their back-and-forth banter became the gold standard for sitcom couples. But behind that charm and perfect comedic timing, something else was happening, something few ever suspected. Audrey wasn't just acting. She was surviving. She kept it all quiet. The tension, the emotional tightrope, the cost of maintaining that on-screen magic, none of it showed. Until one day, decades later, she finally opened up. At the age of 73, Audrey Meadows revealed a side of Jackie Gleason the public never saw. Her words weren't bitter or vengeful, but they rewrote the story we thought we knew. What she said changed how fans saw both her and the man once known as the Great One. And it all started with a single audition that nearly never happened. When Audrey Meadows first went after the role of Alice Cramden on The Honeymooners, she faced a quick and humiliating rejection. Jackie Gleason, already a rising television giant, took one look at her and said she looked too refined, too polished, for the role of a working-class Brooklyn wife. But Audrey wasn't one to walk away easily. Determined to prove him wrong, she took an unorthodox approach that showed not just her dedication, but her cunning. She hired a photographer, dressed in a tattered housecoat, wiped off all her makeup, and posed in a dingy kitchen looking completely unglamorous and exhausted. When Gleason saw the photos, he immediately said, "That's the girl." He didn't realize it was the same actress he had rejected days earlier. Only when her identity was revealed did he agree to cast her. It was a clever move, but it came with a cost. The tone of their relationship had been set. This would always be his show, on his terms, and Audrey would always be seen as the one who had to adapt to fit into his vision. Even in that early moment, she showed she could navigate not just a role, but a power dynamic. Her strategy wasn't just about landing a part, it was about survival. That decision would shape everything that followed, from how she acted on screen to how she survived off-camera in Jackie Gleason's tightly controlled world. But getting the role was just the beginning. Nothing could have prepared Audrey for what working with Jackie would really demand. Once The Honeymooners became a full series, one thing became instantly clear. Jackie Gleason didn't just star in the show, he controlled it. Every script, every camera angle, every moment on set passed through his hands. He didn't just act, he orchestrated. Gleason famously avoided rehearsals, believing spontaneity made performances funnier. For Audrey Meadows, this dynamic meant treading lightly. Though she was a seasoned actress with razor-sharp timing, she was constantly walking a fine line. She could be funny, but not too funny. She could show strength, but never outshine Gleason. Every decision about her performance required a silent calculation. How do you deliver a perfect line while making sure it doesn't steal attention from the Great One? Rehearsals were rare, and filming was intense. Scenes were often shot in a single take, with zero room for mistakes. If someone missed a line, the tension could cut through the air. Gleason's temper was legendary, erratic, explosive, and deeply feared. Directors walked on eggshells. Writers second-guessed every line. And Audrey? And still, the emotional cost mounted. This wasn't just about hitting marks and delivering jokes. It was about survival in a space where one man's ego could rewrite the rules at any moment. Audrey held herself with grace, but each day required more strength than anyone watching could imagine. But while Gleason ruled the set, it was the emotional pressure that ruled Audrey's every move, and that's where the real story begins. Audrey Meadows wasn't just performing a role, she was performing stability in the middle of emotional chaos. Working alongside Jackie Gleason meant constantly adjusting to his unpredictable moods. He could be charming one day, cutting the next. Sometimes he wouldn't speak to her between takes. For Audrey, this wasn't just exhausting, it was quietly traumatizing. Her composure, so often praised by fans and co-stars, wasn't just professionalism. It was protection. She had learned to mask discomfort behind sharp timing and calm delivery. Her jokes weren't just funny, they were a way to defuse tension. And yet, she never let the strain show. She never missed a line, never snapped back. Instead, she channeled every flicker of frustration into Alice's dry sarcasm. Those famous comebacks? Many of them came from real places of hurt, cleverly disguised as comedy. She played the role of the grounded wife to perfection, not just for the audience, but for the sake of everyone on set who relied on that balance. And the irony? That unspoken tension between them became the very thing audiences couldn't get enough of. Audiences adored the biting banter and explosive chemistry between Ralph and Alice Cramden. The way Audrey Meadows and Jackie Gleason played off each other felt so natural, so believable, that many assumed they were close off camera too. According to Audrey, the chemistry everyone praised didn't come from friendship or camaraderie. In fact, she and Gleason had little personal connection outside of work. They rarely spoke off camera unless it was necessary. And the friction viewers thought was performance? That uncomfortable energy gave their scenes a raw edge. Gleason's loud, unpredictable style clashed with Audrey's quiet precision. His chaos met her restraint, and what unfolded felt painfully authentic. Audrey didn't have to fake her reactions. The weariness in her eyes, the sarcasm in her voice, the tension in her body, it all came from real emotional fatigue. Behind the scenes, crew members confirmed what Audrey later admitted. The tension on set was thick, and everyone tiptoed around Gleason. But while others shrank away, Audrey held her ground without confrontation. Her strength wasn't loud, but it was powerful. Still, even with all that unspoken stress, Audrey never told her side of the story until decades later, when she finally decided the world needed to hear the truth. For decades, Audrey Meadows said nothing. She smiled in interviews, praised Jackie Gleason publicly, and upheld the image of the Honeymooners as a warm, iconic slice of television history. But privately, the emotional weight never went away. At 73, long after Gleason had passed and the cameras had stopped rolling, Audrey finally broke her silence. In interviews, letters, and her memoir, she pulled back the curtain, but not to seek revenge. Her words were calm, measured, and strikingly honest. She called Gleason a genius, but didn't shy away from describing how emotionally taxing it had been to work with him. She revealed how protecting the illusion of harmony came at the cost of her own peace. Why didn't she speak up earlier? Because in the 1950s, a woman who pushed back could lose everything. Being labeled difficult could end a career. And Audrey knew that. So she adapted, endured, and let the audience believe what they wanted. When she finally spoke, she didn't tear Gleason down. She simply told the full story. And in doing so, she reclaimed her legacy, not as just Alice Cramden, the patient wife, but as a woman who quietly endured an impossible working environment and still gave the performance of a lifetime. And in the end, it wasn't a dramatic outburst or a bitter farewell. It was a final, quiet conversation that gave her the closure she needed. In the final years of her life, Audrey Meadows gave the world something far more powerful than behind-the-scenes gossip. She gave perspective. She didn't set out to destroy Jackie Gleason's legacy, and she didn't seek sympathy. Instead, she revealed what it truly meant to be strong in an era that demanded silence from women like her. Her final conversation with Gleason wasn't loud or emotional. It was gentle. Kind. He told her he respected her, and for the first time, she saw the man behind the chaos offer something real. "I forgave him," she later said, "but I never forgot." That one line carried decades of restraint, pain, and finally, understanding. By choosing to speak at 73, Audrey Meadows reminded us that timing is everything, and that sometimes the most powerful truths are the ones that take the longest to say. She wasn't just Alice Cramden. She was the quiet force behind a cultural phenomenon and the woman who bore the cost of its success with grace and dignity. In the end, Audrey didn't rewrite history. She completed it.